The following program is brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization. Use of any firearm without proper training in safety and firearm usage is extremely dangerous. It is highly recommended that anyone owning or using a firearm attend a certified firearms safety course and practice proper firearm procedures. The views and opinions expressed on the K-Gun Show are those of the individuals and does not reflect the views and opinions of the K-Gun Show, R&R Firearms, or Talkwad Studios.
Straight from Talkwad Studios in beautiful sunny Tampa, Florida, this is the K-Gun Show. The Second Amendment needs our voice. We bring you the latest information about all firearms while revisiting some of the true classics in the industry. We are NRA certified instructors, and as always, safety and education is our first priority. The K-Gun Show is brought to you by R&R Firearms.
Good evening. It is 8 p.m. on Wednesday, and my name is Catherine K. Guns, and this is the K-Gun Show. I've been a firearms instructor for about since 2010, and what started that whole thing was being in the firearms industry for about 15 years, and then I got a CWP, and that instructor was so good. He taught me more in that 3-hour course than I did in all the years of handling firearms, and then it just kind of went on from there, and I really enjoy what I do.
Sounds good. Thank you, Catherine. And I'm JR. I've been around firearms since I was a little kid. Like most Americans, I started off learning from my father, my grandparents, and they taught me the basics of firearms and how to respect the firearms. And since then, I've been involved with them. Currently, I hold several NRA certifications for instructors. I am the manager at R&R Firearms, and I'm a range officer, and that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll come up with something else later on.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But right now, that's all I got for you today.
To be continued.
That's right.
So there's a few messages that we need to bring, and that will be that we are trained, we are professionals, so you really shouldn't try these things at home. There are some safety rules that we need to consider, and I'm going to let JR take away with that.
Yes, and these are basic NRA safety rules that everybody should follow each time and every time they handle a firearm. Number 1 rule, always keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. Number 2, always keep your finger off the trigger until ready to shoot. And of course, always keep the gun unloaded until ready to use it.
Absolutely. There's also some other rules that you really should consider. And it's know what's beyond your target. Just because you can't see past that wall doesn't mean that the bullet won't go beyond that. Know how to use your gun safely. Read the owner's manual. Take a class, and there's even YouTube videos out there that'll teach you functions checks and how to clean it and things like that. Be sure your gun is safe to operate. Only use the correct ammunition for your firearm. Never use alcohol or over-the-counter prescriptions or other drugs before or while during shooting. And then store your guns so that they are not accessible to unauthorized people. Who's an unauthorized person?
Anybody that you don't want using your firearm.
Absolutely.
And Kay, you did mention YouTube. It's important to mention about YouTube videos. If you're going to go to YouTube to get instructions about your firearms, make sure you go to a YouTube video that's approved by the firearm manufacturer,
right,
or that's been okayed through an NRA certified instructor. There's a lot of yoo-hoos out there and, that are doing unsafe actions with firearms out there, and we don't want you copying any of those. So make sure you watch a YouTube video that's approved by the manufacturer of your firearm, or one that's been approved by the NRA.
Yeah, or either that, or just come and see us. We'll
That's
help
right.
you out. So today we're going to have Lance Bolin coming all the way out from California. He's going to do it via Skype. We're going to interview him on gun myths. And in just a little bit, we're going to do an introduction on, but we'll be right back with our firearms commercial.
R&R Firearms is a retail store located in St. Petersburg, Florida, giving our customers the time and education they need to make buying a firearm a safe and easy transaction. R&R Firearms also provides NRA training courses. Stop by our store in St. Petersburg, Florida at 1411 16th Street North, or visit our website at www.rrfirearms.com. That's rrfirearms.com.
And we're back.
Yay! So we're going to introduce Lance Bolin. And Lance is an NRA training counselor based out of Orange County. His father's also an NRA instructor. Lance served in the Marine Corps Security Forces Battalion with the Weapons Company and 2nd Battalion and 5th of Marines. Lance has a passion for training in the civilian ward.
And just in case you didn't know what a NRA counselor does, NRA counselors train the NRA instructors. So counselors like him and trained us and train all your instructors out there. And so he's a step above us. So he's the expert when it comes to safety.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very honored to have him on. Is Lance available?
I am.
There he is.
Hi.
Hi. How are you this evening?
We're doing great. A little bit of audio there. So.
You with us, Lance?
I sure am.
Okay, we lost you then for a second. I think we had a blurb in the internet today.
So it's not just enough. It's not enough just to have a gun for protection. The best guns for women are small calibers. This is what we hear a lot when we talk about. I hear this every time I go to a gun store, and they really don't know who I am, and then I'm saying I'm looking for a firearm, and then they directly navigate me over to the revolver section, and I'm like, so these are some of the myths that we're going to bust today, and that's where we're going to use Lance to give some of those answers. So what are your opinions, or educate us on the best guns not being necessarily revolvers?
Well, it's not. It's in fact, I helped out with a well-armed woman chapter in Orange County, and as an RSO during one of the shoots, and we had one of the women in there that the husband had gifted her a .357 Magnum. It was hammerless, and she was shooting 38 caliber rounds out of it just to mitigate some of the recoil. And the trigger pull, I would say, was in excess of 15 to 17 pounds. And being a little bit older with the frail hands, she had a difficult time pulling the trigger, which was throwing her shot group on a silhouette all over the place. And I gave her an opportunity to run my Sig Sauer P226, and she was shooting silver dollar size groups at 15 feet, and
Nice.
It was kind of dispelling that idea that it's a simplistic firearm. All you got to do is it's a point and click interface, and it's not always necessarily the truth.
I totally agree with you on that.
Do you have a particular firearm that you do recommend to women? I mean, I know there's no one firearm that's best for all males and all females and all age types, but I mean, what's your go-to firearm when a female comes to you, asks, a new female to the shooting world asks you about a firearm and which one she should purchase for her first firearm?
I don't have a go-to. It's really it's about her. It's
Right.
about that individual. It's, you have some of the females with smaller petite hands. You have some of the females with a much larger grip, or sometimes smaller in stature, sometimes larger in stature. And you really need to size them up and understand what they're capable of shooting, and get the gun in the hands. The try before you buy concept,
Right.
and see what they can handle. We have some of the students that come through our class that struggle with a Walther P22 and have a difficult time even working the slide on that. And I have a 12-year-old daughter that runs my CZ97B, which is a 45 ACP, with no problems at all. So it really depends on that individual, what their strength is, what their grip is, and what they're comfortable with.
Very good.
I am actually so glad that he brought that up, because I do have really tiny, petite hands. So it's really about the grip and the size of the firearm which I'm able to handle. So when they teach you, you have to learn how to grip the firearm correctly. None of this teacupping stuff, okay? So what we do, we basically put our hand on the web of our hand right just underneath the what we call the beaver tail and alongside the back strap, and then we wrap our 3 fingers underneath the trigger guard, and we make sure that we index our finger alongside the frame. Then we take our palm and we fill in the gap and then put the remaining 4 fingers underneath the trigger guard stacked on top of the other 3, and we stack our thumbs. That way we're able to get the best grip. So that's how you know if a firearm actually fits you, because if you're not gripping it correctly and you have to compensate to reach the trigger, then that gun is probably just a little too big for you.
And you have less control of it and less accuracy.
Absolutely. So another myth that we should actually cover, and I like this.
Just to mention, Lance mentioned the try before you buy method.
Yes.
And R&R Firearms, we support that method. So if we have a firearm that's in our demo collection that you want to try before you decide on which purchase you want to make, we're more than happy to take you to the range. We have a range within 5 minutes of a walking distance from our offices in St. Pete. So we're more than happy to take you across to the range and have you shoot a couple of firearms before you buy which one you want.
That's fantastic. Wow. I really like that subject. That is a really good one. It'll bring a lot more women into the firearms industry, which is
absolutely
the great way to go. So number 2 on our myth busting here. This one says, a semi-automatic rifle is an assault rifle. I get this question all the time, but I really want to hear what Lance has got to say.
We just finished a fight here in the state of California not more than, I believe, 6 months ago with one of the assembly bills trying to deem anything with a detachable magazine as an assault rifle. And one of the things that I always, you give me the definition of an assault rifle. What is that? There's no legal definition of it. There's, people try to shoehorn, the scary features of a rifle or a firearm into being assault. And it's not. It's, as we teach our students, it's a modern, sporting rifle. The AR is not assault rifle. It's not what it stands for. And we try to push through a lot of these fallacies and getting people to understand that, it's not the tool. It's the person. The person's the problem. Treat the person. If we carry this mentality on, we're going to end up banning kitchen knives. We're going to end up banning cars. We're going to end up banning,
pointy knives.
And you just look at the pure ignorance of some of the legislators that have been elected into office, and one more recently with the 30 caliber clips a second speech that from DeLeon that absolutely made everybody in this state cringe. And I think worldwide, anybody that watched that just watch that all on the air. And but it's not. I take my students out. We take out the 1022s, the Ruger 1022s. That was one of the firearms that was going to be banned. That was one of the ones that was going to be deemed an assault rifle. Absolutely. And you take the action out of it. You take the stock away. You take the the parts and pieces, and you can make it look like an AR-15. Does that make it any more dangerous? Does it make it any more readily used for a tragedy? Well, no, absolutely not. Again, it goes back to the person behind it, and not every semi-automatic firearm or semi-automatic rifle is an assault rifle.
Right.
So no, that's an absolute fallacy, and it's something that we clear up in not only our basic rifle classes, but even getting into some of the instructor courses and educating people with that. So.
I completely agree with you. And I mean, you go around to people that are for guns and people are against guns, ask 10 different people that same question, what's the definition of an assault rifle? You'll get 10 different answers.
Yeah, absolutely. I read it somewhere that it started out with Armalite. And that was the actual short term for it in Armalite, making this rifle. And there is a huge difference between the assault rifle and our civilian brand of firearms. And the AR term does not stand for assault rifle. It actually was termed for the Armalite.
That's right. It's just the manufacturer's name.
Yeah.
That's all.
So this one's a really good one. If shot in the head with a .22, will the round rattle around in your skull, destroying the brain?
Oh, geez. I'll tell you that this I will say, it's kind of as the Mythbusters say, it's plausible or unfounded, however you want to describe that. The .22 it's a vicious little bullet. If anybody that gets caught with shrapnel or we have a return round come back on us on the range, it's always been the 22. But still, it's, you're talking about having a small projectile impact bone, travel through a semi-gelatinous mass and then exiting the other side. There's been cases in World War II. In fact, it was, I believe it was portrayed in Saving Private Ryan during the invasion scene that one of the soldiers had taken one in the helmet, and it rattled around inside of his helmet. And you can even find photos on Google image search of that helmet that has the striped band around it. Even more so, there was, I believe, another one come out of the Iraq War here recently, where a soldier or a Marine had been shot in the head or shot in the helmet, and it had traveled around inside the helmet. Is it implausible that could happen? Absolutely, it could happen. It's just pure physics. But is it going to happen every single time? Absolutely not. When I was in my younger days, I was a intern at a local police department, and had an opportunity to go onto a crime scene where a subject had been shot in a gunfight out on the street, and he had been hit in the wrist. And after a search, we found the exit wound, which was in his left ankle. So he had taken one in his right wrist and an exit wound in his left ankle. So this bullet had traveled through this zigzag path through his body, maintaining a better part of its velocity, enough to exit the body. So, yeah, can it happen? Yes. Will it happen every time? Yeah, probably not. No.
Wow.
Absolutely.
This is another really good one. Silencers turn gunfire into a gentle whisper. Machine guns are magical death machines in capacity of controllability.
Yeah, no, this has actually made the news here recently. Is the ATF, I believe, is seeing more and more requests for the suppressors, and more and more people are going out and buying suppressors. In fact, I'm wanting to say I believe one state now requires suppressors to be used during hunting. Does it make it a whisper? Absolutely not. No, if anybody's ever fired a suppressed firearm, you know that it is not a gentle whisper. You still get that baffling effect. You still hear a concussive discharge. Is it the loud crack of a rifle or the loud discharge of a pistol? No, it trims a lot of that off. But that myth generates from the fear of some of the anti-rights advocates that are out there saying that, the purchase of a suppressor will allow anybody to walk into a bedroom and that's not the case.
It's certainly.
And I wish that more suppressors were used on ranges, and especially outdoor ranges, that you don't have to wear the encumbering headgear all the time, and the hearing protection, because it drops it below a level that is going to end up being damaging. So that's one that's quickly dispelled. The other one with the machine gun, we kind of went two different directions, because this is one that we discussed on our podcast here a couple weeks ago, that fully automatic all of a sudden makes this this fire hose of lead that'll come out of a firearm. And you see the Rambo movies with Sylvester Stallone, one-handing the M60 and just laying down fields of fire accurately. And it's I had the pleasure of going through a course of fire with fully automatic weapons in the Marine Corps, and of course they're fun. They, like the bumper sticker says, happiness is a belt-fed weapon, and it truly is. But no, it's not some magical fire hose of death that's going to enable you to clear crowds out. It's just not. It's not true. On that point, it's why when I was in the military, we had the select fire that gave us the burst. It was a 3-round burst. After your second or third round, you're inaccurate anyways. Right, so what's the point of continuing fire? So
gotta make that first shot count.
Absolutely.
You do, and that's our that was obviously one of the Marine Corps mottos was one shot, one kill, and fire discipline, conserve your ammunition, and everything else that goes with that.
Absolutely. Anything after the second or third shot, you're just firing to make noise.
Oh, I actually had the pleasure of shooting a full automatic AK, and I'll tell you what, it rattled me out. They actually, the go back a little earlier, the first time I ever shot a full auto Uzi, they actually had to chain it down, and they had an instructor behind me holding just to make sure. And this firearm actually wanted a rise, which is almost zero accuracy in the first few shots. And the same thing with the AK. It literally rattled me, and probably not something I want to shoot again. But,
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it gets expensive quick with those.
it does. It was like, what,
It
80
does.
cents a round?
Yep.
Yep. So then the capacity and controllability.
Well, the capacity and the controllability from that goes into the fully automatic. It's like the MP5. You can go through a 30-round magazine in a little over 2 seconds. So if you're looking for sustainability of suppressing fires like they do in the military, that doesn't exist. Fully automatic it has its purposes, it has its uses, but it doesn't have practical application for what we do. It's fun, yeah. It's a riot to go out there and and watch the brass jump out of a firearm like that. But where does that come in practicality? And even in the military, it's a rare occasion that you would actually select your switch your firearm over to that mode.
Here's a good one. Why don't you read that one off? This is a good one too.
I only shoot a 45, so I only need one shot.
Oh boy, yeah. This one comes up all the time. This has been, even in the instructor courses that I teach, this has been a point of contention, argument, hurt feelings. It truly is the myth. It truly is. With modern ammunition, and then for example, the Winchester Ranger SXT rounds used to be called the Black Talons. That match in firepower between the argument between the 9mm and the 45, that line is starting to become blurred. And as we advance in technologies with defensive ammunition, that argument is eventually going away. I will say, and I've argued this point myself, that a 9mm might expand, but a 45 will never shrink. But
Gotcha.
It's in our personal protection inside and outside the home courses when we do start talking about stopping a threat, and we do start talking about lethality. I get asked the questions. Well, how many times do you engage your opponent? How many shots do you fire? And the answer is always enough to stop your threat. Will one shot stop your threat? Probably not.
Sounds good. Well, Lance, we're going to take a quick break and come right back to you. One of the questions we're going to ask when you come back is, what round do you prefer for your self-defense round, or what round do you actually carry? And we'll discuss that right when we come back.
Alrighty.
R&R Firearms is a retail store located in St. Petersburg, Florida, giving our customers the time and education they need to make buying a firearm a safe and easy transaction. R&R Firearms also provides NRA training courses. Stop by our store in St. Petersburg, Florida at 1411 16th Street North, or visit our website at www.rrfirearms.com. That's rrfirearms.com.
And welcome back.
Alrighty. So Lance, that one question is actually which ammunition or caliber do you prefer?
I've always been a purist with the 45 ACP. I've just found I've got larger hands. I've kind of got the bear paws,
Right.
And I found that the 1911s or even as I mentioned earlier the CZ97B it fits my hand better. I have not been a Glock fan. I don't get involved with the Glock versus 1911 arguments because that's just that's toxic.
That's personal opinion,
It really is, and I've lost friends over that simply because they've owned Glocks, and Tupperware belongs in the kitchen, not on the range. So
I thought we were going to get involved in this conversation.
But no, I've always carried the 45. Now that has changed recently. That's changed here in the last couple months. And on the purchase of a Sig Sauer P226 Mark 25 Navy SEAL edition, and that gun I've put it to the test. We run a handgun challenge here in Orange County at the Evans Shooters World and Gunsmithing in Orange, California, And we run a handgun challenge, and it is a defensive scenario with several stages, a total of 4 or 5 stages. And I ran that gun as hard as I could. I got one of the best scores, best times that I've put forth so far. And we actually have a video of it, of the last stage of the shootout, which is you against another individual that's of matched skill. And if you check out YouTube, FastOC TV, all one word, you'll see myself and a gentleman by the name of Lex, who is a remarkably fast shooter, go head to head, where we've got to hit a silhouette twice and then break 2 balloons. And if you watch the barrel rise on that 226, it just doesn't move. There's no motion in that gun, and it's a 9mm, so you've got reduced recoil. You've got for those of you outside of the state of California, you have an increased capacity beyond the 10 rounds that are typically carried, or at least for my CZ97, it carries 10 rounds inherently, and this will carry a total of 16. So you get that nice mix. It's a great gun. It's well built. It's got a Picatinny rail on the front if you're that guy that carries the lasers and the flashlights, right. And
just like the Glock,
so
I'm
torn. I really am. All of my carry guns are 9mm so far, and it's the simplicity of having a low profile handgun. The 45s get a little bulky. They start pulling down the pants. You get that embarrassing scenario of exposing your sidearm or, God forbid, anything else in the middle of a grocery store. So.
Well, Lance, we're getting pretty close to the end of the show. We do have 2 more questions we want to answer, so hopefully we get through these. Mm-hmm. And Catherine, this is an interesting one. I'm not sure if it's a legal question or not, but we're going to throw it out there.
Yeah, I've heard this all the time, and I really am not sure exactly how to answer this other than don't do that. But this one's because forensics are so good. It says, if you shoot someone on the porch and drag them through the front door, what is your opinion?
Oh, you hear that all the time. I was with the police department for a few years up in Alhambra, California, and working with some of the individuals that were on the CSI and some of the forensic staff with Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, that it does not get any more inaccurate than that statement. They have the stuff called luminol, that if you've ever watched the actual movie CSI, they are going to know exactly what happened.
Right.
They hit it with the light, and they can tell where the bullet was shot from, just by simply the blood spray patterns. Do not do that. If it's a defensive shoot, make it a defensive shoot. But I will say this: there is a very thin line between a good shoot, a good defensive shoot, and murder. So
absolutely
keep that in mind.
Yes, indeed.
And here's one of the ones we see on the movies all the time. Drop guns go off. When you drop your gun, it goes off. Tell us about that one. You know what?
That's it really depends. As instructors and as training counselors, we teach, where's the safety on a firearm? It's in between your ears and at the end tip of your finger. And
Absolutely.
Can mechanical safeties fail? Absolutely. It's even a test questions for all the basic courses. And I'm not going to get into manufacturers or anything, but there has been several lawsuits in the past, I think spanning the last 15 years, of a particular rifle that would go off on its own.
That's right.
So that's a major concern. Can a dropped firearm go off? Absolutely, it can go off. We've during one of the calls up there during my time in the police department, they had taken a 380 off a suspect, and during a chamber check, pulling the gun discharged. So can anything happen? Absolutely. These things are made out of metal. They're fallible. Things can go wrong. It's why we preach maintenance. It's why we preach cleaning in our classes and taking care of your firearms and taking them to gunsmiths for checks every so often, just like you do your car for an oil change. And it's that can actually happen.
Well, thank you, Lance. We're out of time today. Thank you very much for joining us. And anybody that needs to get a hold of us, they can always get a hold of us from our website, thekgunshow.info. Always watch the show at thekgunshow.tv. Lance's information will be on our Facebook in case you want to get hold of Lance and get some more information about Lance. And Catherine, what do we have next week?
I think we're doing covering the Eddie Eagle, and we're probably going to have a few students in here.
That's right, Catherine. We're going to have a couple of kids in here in studio. We're going to go through the Eddie Eagle program for the kids. It's an NRA program specially designed for pre-K to third graders, designed to teach a kid if they come across a firearm to stop, don't touch, leave the area, tell an adult. So we'll be doing that show live for children next week at the K-Gun Show. And if your child's interested in being on the show next week, give me or Catherine a call or send us a text message through Facebook, and we'll get your child here in the studio with us for the Eddie Eagle program. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.
I wanted to thank Lance Bullen. It was an honor. Very,
Yes,
very
thank
nice
you,
to
Lance.
meet you. Have a great night.
This program was brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization, setting the standard for new media broadcasting.